This program was made possible in part by the continuing contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.
I'm biracial, so I'm white and black. I never really was identified with my white side. It was just always my black side, so that's just what I always took on to growing up. That was the group of people I usually hung around.
Yeah! We're not playing that. What is that?
My dad is black and a little bit of Cherokee and Sioux and Algonquin and a little bit of Irish. And my mom is German and Norwegian.
I always say that I'm biracial. I never say that I'm black because that's not who I am and that's not how I was raised.
I'm made up of 3 different heritages and I'm proud of all of them. So I proudly say I'm Irish and African American, Native American.
I used to say half Arab, half Indian, but then someone pointed out to me that I'm not half. I'm like very much whole because saying half makes it sound like you're not good enough to be a whole.
If someone asked me if I was black, I'd say yes. But if I was like identify myself, I'd say like biracial and say both, black and white.
Oh, I tell them exactly what I am. I'm like, I'm black. That's how my mom's always raised me, to identify myself as I'm black. But when they ask, I'll just be like, my dad's black and my mom's white.
In 2000, the United States Census gave people the opportunity to identify themselves with 2 or more races. The U.S. Census Bureau says there are about 7.3 million multiracial people living in the country. That's about 3% of the total U.S. population. The statistic includes 84,000 multiracial people living in Minnesota, equaling 1.5% of the state's population. The mixed-race population is also visible among youth. The 2000 census reported that 41% of mixed-race people were under 18. Some researchers believe the multiracial population may be even higher because many still identify with one race. Hello everyone, I'm Mike Peden. The challenges facing people of mixed race are changing the meaning of ethnic identity. And for the next hour, you'll see how 7 women are contributing to the shift in racial identification. Through their stories, you'll also hear how social issues are no longer limited to a single ethnic background.
I remember that I was always mixed.
I remember like being like the first non-white members of like my mom's side of the family who was white, and I remember like feeling like an outcast at like family reunions, and like everyone knew like whose kids we were.
I really struggled with my identity of just being a person of color. Before I started finding more about my roots and ethnicities, I was really struggling with not being white because all of my friends were white and I desperately wanted to be white.
When you get to the age like around middle school and things like that, when people become racially conscious, I noticed a little bit of a separation between me and certain people. Like, you know, guys necessarily wouldn't want to date me.
I remember like not really knowing like exactly what I should call myself.
I remember when I was like 6 or 7, I would just lay on the floor, you know, during quiet time or recess or whatever, and I just like have my legs propped up on the door, and I just think, like daydream, like actual daydream on what it would be like if I were white, what it would be like if I had blonde hair and blue eyes, and I used to like say the name Samantha Smith.
I just found my standards of beauty not to be really pretty. My curly hair, I always wanted it straight.
I guess that would be my biggest problem growing up as a kid, is having curly hair, because everyone wants you to like straighten it out.
I find like more comfort in identifying with like the black community. So that's why I probably like identify myself as black more common. I would never just say I'm white.
And then I would try to imagine my life as like if my friend, you know, Kirsten or Tatum, like if their parents were my parents, and if we were in a house where we made macaroni and cheese or just like normal American food.
It was just always kind of a struggle for me that was obvious, and it was very relevant to my life, and it was very much of an internal conflict that I dealt with.
I had a little kid tell me my hair looked like a poodle, and I was like, yeah, I did. I had a little kid tell me my hair looks like a poodle, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like it.
I guess it's not like a really like a clear-cut line of when I'm saying I'm black, you know. But if someone were like, "Oh, are you like?" I get asked like if I'm like Latino, and so if they're asking if like I'm Latino, I'm like, "No, I'm black."
Throughout my life, like my childhood, my mom always made sure that I saw my dad's side of the family, and my dad always made sure that I saw my mom's side of the family. So I had a good balance of what was going on in my life.
I always knew like my family was different, but it never really affected me in a negative way.
Being multiracial didn't have anything to do with how I grew up. It never really affected me because the schools that I went to, they were just really diverse, and no one really made a big deal out of me being multiracial or even being black for that matter.
I went to a Spanish immersion school, so it was a wide variety of, you know, people from different backgrounds, so it wasn't really, I don't know, it just felt normal to be different, so I never really thought about it.
I didn't always just have one side. I didn't always just have a white side that I was brought up by. I didn't always just have a black side that I was brought up by.
Fortunately, living in Minneapolis, this is like the second most popular place to have interracial relationships. So, I mean, it never really was a big deal.
My mom always made my brother and I feel really comfortable, and my mom's family, they're all white too, but they always made us feel comfortable. We actually lived at my aunt's house for a while when I was younger at nighttime when my mom went to work, and our cousins always made us feel welcome. Race was never a problem.
The church I went to was kind of popular for having like interracial marriages and, you know, mixed kids. So that was always like a good support system, just like seeing kids that like looked like me and, you know, were in the same situation, is not that it's a situation, but the same upbringing.
It's just something I notice when I'm either like filling out some sort of application or something, and it has like the survey or whatever, and it has like the race question. It's like, what do you identify yourself as? And it's sort of like, I don't know, the way that they write it, it's like you have to pick one.
You can check white, but you look at me and you're gonna change that to black. That actually happened to one of my friends. She checked black and white coming to the University of Minnesota. She looked at her like report or whatever that is. She's under as black. They changed it.
My mom always told me that I was biracial, and that's just, when people ask me, that's what I say. And then if I fill out like a form that says your ethnicity, I always check other, because I'm not black or white.
I'm more than one thing. And so then there's other, which I don't know, like when other just seems so, I don't know, I get really weird about it.
I really liked it, actually, being of color, because it's like you have a tan all year round.
I went to a private school, like an elementary school, and so like I was surrounded by Caucasian people. Like my whole in school, my childhood was Caucasian. But I think that once I started playing for MLK, I started to branch out of that whole, I started to meet black friends.
I feel like every biracial person has gone through some kind of identity crisis.
To this day, and it'll never change. People are just confused, pretty much, because they don't know what my ethnic background is. So they're just kind of curious. They want to ask, but they don't know how, or they just think it's awkward.
They acted different than I did, so it was kind of different, but I mean, it was fine because they thought that I was just black. They never questioned me when I was younger about what I was, because they always saw my mom and they knew that she was white. And so they never questioned me on what I was.
I say that I have 2 backgrounds because it's easiest that way, but like if I look at my lineage, I have a lot more. But I just say the 2